All right, let's jump straight into today's explainer. We're taking a really deep dive into the mechanics of internal auditing and governance, and we're going to do that by methodically breaking down a complete procurement audit from start to finish.
So, first things first, what exactly are we looking at here? At its core, a procurement audit is evaluating the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the compliance of your entire purchasing process. You can think of it as your North Star. It's there to make absolutely sure you're getting the right goods in the right quantity at the right price, ultimately safeguarding your organization's assets.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're hitting 6 key areas: objectives and risks, controls and processes, audit procedures, an example transaction, red flags, and we'll wrap it up with the key takeaway. This overview right here is our master blueprint for the explainer, and we are going to extract the essential, real-world takeaways from every single phase you see. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Objectives and Key Risks. As an auditor, your goals are strictly defined. You are there to ensure compliance and to verify that every purchase is authorized, necessary, and, actually reasonable. You're also making sure goods are high quality and available on time, and that vendors are properly selected. Ultimately, your main objective is preventing fraud and waste. You are literally the last line of defense, stopping an employee from buying, say, a luxury espresso machine for a rarely used break room on the company's dime.
Now, what happens when those defenses fail? Well, you face some pretty serious key risks. We're talking external threats like vendor collusion, inflated prices, and poor quality goods. But you also have internal threats like unauthorized purchases, non-compliance, and a massive one: inadequate segregation of duties. Just imagine the absolute financial disaster if an employee has the system access to approve their own purchase order and then pays themselves for the exact same duplicate invoice. It happens more than you'd think.
Moving right along to Section 2, Controls and the Procurement Process. To stop those risks, organizations have to build up solid defensive layers or key controls. This starts right up front with maintaining an approved vendor list and requiring proper requisition approvals. From there, it moves through competitive bidding and strict PO authorizations, and it all culminates in what is arguably the most critical control of them all: the three-way match. That means verifying the PO, the goods received note, and the invoice all match up perfectly before a single cent is paid out. Plus, you need timely payments and ongoing vendor evaluation.
Let's walk through the actual life cycle of a purchase to see how this flows. Looking at the first 4 steps, a department realizes they need something, so they identify a need. They then raise a requisition, which gets approved. Next comes vendor selection, where quotes are gathered and evaluated. And finally, step 4, the official purchase order is issued to the winner.
Okay, so the PO is out there. Now the second half of the process kicks in. Step 5, the goods actually arrive and a goods received note or GRN is prepared. Step 6, you get the vendor's invoice. This triggers Step 7, that vital three-way match we just talked about, between the PO, the GRN, and the invoice. Once that clears, and only when that clears, you hit Step 8 and safely release the payment.
Which brings us to Section 3, Audit Procedures and Focus.
So how do you actually audit this? Well, your audit procedures require you to truly understand the process and the approval matrix. You can't just stare at a piece of paper, you have to get your hands dirty. You need to physically verify authorizations, evaluate how vendors were selected, and actually perform the three-way match testing on sample data yourself. You're also cross-referencing prices, terms, and discounts with the original contracts, reviewing payment accuracy, and checking up on vendor performance reviews.
While you're digging into all of that, there's specific areas you really want to focus heavily on. Look at the adequacy of approvals, vendor master management, the competitive bidding process, and price reasonableness compared to the market. But most importantly, you are hunting for fraud indicators. A classic real-world trick is splitting purchases. That's when a manager, who maybe has a strict $5,000 approval limit, maliciously splits a $10,000 purchase into 3 smaller invoices just to fly under the radar. You've got to catch things like that.
Let's look at how this plays out in Section 4, an example purchase transaction.
To ground this in reality, here's a look at a textbook perfectly executed transaction. It's a chronological timeline showing a three-way match in action. We've got a requisition from the stores department that turns into a PO on May 1st. The goods arrive a few days later on the 5th, The invoice hits on the 6th, and the bank transfer clears on the 10th. It's a completely clean 10-day cycle with zero gaps and all the documentation lining up perfectly.
Now for the fun part. Section 5. Red flags and impact.
What are the warning signs that something is going wrong? Well, watch for behavioral red flags, like requisitions lacking proper justification, or the exact same vendor being repeatedly selected without any competition. You also want to look out for purchases hovering just below approval limits, like we talked about earlier. And of course, keep an eye out for missing paperwork, goods that are received but never actually recorded, advance payments made without proper safeguards, and those dreaded duplicate payments.
But hey, the impact of actually catching these flags is massive. An effective procurement audit ensures you are getting true value for your money. It stops fraud and waste in its tracks, improves vendor performance, and guarantees you have the quality goods you need right when you need them. Plus, it drastically strengthens your compliance and supports much better budgeting and cost control across the entire company.
Finally, let's wrap this up with Section 6, the key takeaway.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this. A strong procurement process with effective controls ensures that your organization purchases the right goods from the right vendor at the right price, in the right quality, and at the absolute right time.
It's basically a math equation, as our source material outlines. An effective procurement audit equals the right purchase, plus the right vendor, plus the right price, plus the right quality, plus the right time. So, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. If you were to audit your own organization tomorrow morning, would your internal controls successfully balance this exact equation, or would you find out that your assets are completely exposed?